Welcome. I'm Mayor Nathan Box, and I'm calling the May 17, 2023 regular meeting of the Holland City Council to order. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Bird.
Present.
Freeman.
Here.
Peters. Here. Corbin. Coronado.
Here.
Aaronshorst.
Here.
Hoekstra.
Here.
Raymond.
Here.
Mayor Box.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We could have done that probably by a voice vote then, right? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah. We're going to begin this evening's meeting, as we have for many years, first with an opening prayer, this evening by Councilmember Vreeman, followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance. And we would invite you to join us if you're so inclined.
If you're inclined, please pray with me. Lord, we come before you this evening with grateful hearts. We're grateful for the place that we call home and the wonderful opportunities that we have to engage throughout this community. We thank you for the beauty of it, and we'd ask that you would extend your blessing upon those that work, particularly in parks and rec, that contribute to the beauty of our surroundings. We would put our meeting before you this evening, that you would cause our attention to be on those things that are important and those things to be dismissed that are not. And we'd ask that you would cause us to honor you in all things here in this room tonight, and as we would walk outside and live our lives in this city. And it's by your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Tim. Next item on our agenda are our consent agenda items. These are items that are considered to be fairly routine. They've been reviewed by council as part of our council packet, and they will be enacted in one motion unless a member of the public or a member of council asks to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed in its regular order on the regular agenda. But before I ask that, Kathy, would you please review the consent agenda for us?
4A, absence excused. 4B, approval of minutes, May 3, 2023, regular meeting. 4D, Holland Board of Public Works, surrender agreement for the expired 49 West 3rd Street lease. 4E, Holland Board of Public Works, utility easement amendment for Howard Avenue underground electric distribution. 4F, Holland Board of Public Works, drinking water state revolving fund project plan, adopt resolution. 4G, Holland Board of Public Works, water treatment plant generator construction. 4H, City Clerk, claims filed against the city. 4I, City Clerk, Van Raalte Farms, Civil War Muster Historic Saloon, September 15th through the 17th, 2023, adopt resolution. 4J, Parks and Recreation, Night Magic Displays Firework Request, July 4, 2023. 4K, Finance, January Financial Reports. 4L, Management Administrative Services, Establishment of a Neighborhood Enterprise Zone at 317 Central Avenue. 4M, Management Administrative Services, Human Resources, MERS Defined Contribution Plan Adoption Agreement for Public Safety Command Group in the drop.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Is there any member of the public that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed in its regular order on the regular agenda? Seeing none. Any member of council that would like to have an item removed from consent agenda and placed in its regular order on the regular agenda? Seeing none there. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda items.
Moved by Coronado. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Vreeman. Any discussion? Seeing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Bird,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Peters. Yes. Coronado,
Yes.
Aaronshorst.
Yes.
Hoekstra,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful, thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Under the Open Meetings Act of the State of Michigan, in every one of our public meetings here at the City of Holland, we provide the public the opportunity to communicate both to council and to all of the boards, committees, and commissions. We do have some guidelines. First, your time is limited to 5 minutes. Each person may speak only one time. And there are 3 lights on the dais to guide you. There's a green light, a yellow light, and a red light. The green light means you're doing well on time. The yellow light means that you have 1 minute left, and the red light means that your time has expired, and we are strict about that. Also, please, when you come to the podium, please address council. We do ask that all of your comments be directed toward us, not to other members of the audience. And that also we do not engage in discussion at this time, or we don't answer questions at this time. It's an opportunity for you to speak about what you think is important. And then lastly, when you approach the podium, please state your name and the municipality in which you live. Having said that, is there anyone here who would like to address council at this time? If so, please come forward. And Mr. Zylstra, would you please state your name
Sure,
and
my name
municipality
is-
for the record?
Sure, my name is Doug Zylstra. I live at 152 East 24th Street, and I'm the County Commissioner for the City of Holland. It's nice to see you all. Tulip time is over, but we're still here and appreciate all your work. So, just want to give a quick update from the County Board. You may have seen the news. We have something called the Community Health Needs Assessment. It is a survey of Ottawa County residents. Do it every 3 years with our hospital partners. It took us a few months, 3 months, to finally get to an agreement. We did finally approve the memorandum of understanding between ourselves and our Healthy Ottawa partners. I think it was an important step. It will allow us to keep working forward on that survey and hopefully get to a point where, you know, we as a board kind of cohere about what our goals are, right? Like I said, it did take 3 months and a lot of discussion on the board, but I think we finally did go to a place where we got a fairly unanimous vote on that. So that was positive. We also passed the millage rate resolution. Board approved the resolution establishing millage rates for the year 2023. Millage rates for the next year are the same as they've been for the last year. Total millage is going to be 5.78, and our operating is going to stay the same at 4.28. So happy that we can, you know, maintain that millage rate going forward. Third thing is we've had some damage at Rosie Mountain Stairs, somewhat with the lake level, and if you've been there, you've seen some of the stair damage, but there's a neighborhood group there called Terry Trails, and it was in our capital improvement plan for that area, but they wanted to step up, so they donated almost $30,000 to get those stairs repaired, and we really want to appreciate, you know, the work that they did. So, and the last thing, and I think over the weekend is going to be an issue I think a lot of people will be talking about. The board is scheduled to consider a resolution to declare Ottawa County a constitutional county. I think it's something that's been in the news a bit. People have been anticipating this, but I have not seen the full language on this, but from what I've seen on some Facebook posts by our chair and vice chair, I am skeptical of this effort, right? Ottawa County follows both U.S. and Michigan Constitution in their entirety as interpreted by the respective judiciary, and I really do believe any alternative or additional formulation that this resolution may make runs the clear risk of altering the overall meaning and protections these documents offer our residents. Look forward to the discussion next Tuesday. I invite everyone here to attend. It's at 6:30. Our second meetings are always at night, so taking lead on having night meetings. Like I said, I think it'll be an interesting discussion, and you know, we'll see where we end up. But like I said, I am skeptical of these efforts, and we'll see what the final language looks like. So, as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out at dzylstra@myottawa.com. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Ann Henriksen, Zealand. I have prepared comments from the last council meeting, May 3rd, and I have decided it probably would be something that I would delay till the next council meeting. I also got an email this afternoon from the Ottawa County Young Adults Education in Sex Education asking me to be there today at a 4 o'clock meeting as they adopt this education for special needs people, and it's very disturbing. So I will comment on this the next council meeting.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Next item on our agenda is item number 7, special order of the day, public hearings. A PA 198 tax abatement for Coastal Container Incorporated at 1201 Industrial Avenue. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, members of the public. So we have before you tonight a tax abatement consideration. Public Act 198 is established by the state, which provides a vehicle for investment and both new and reinvestment by companies that already exist in our community. So council is familiar with these. I'm sure you all went through your materials in detail, and you may have seen that our staff put together a new tax calculation sheet for you. And really, call out and thank Jim Bush, our assessor, for doing this. He is aware of the types of questions and the types of analysis that you all like to take a look at. So I think my saying that I always repeat to you all, right, is that when we're taking a look at these abatements and investments in our community, we are in a competitive environment where these companies can choose to invest in different places. And because this is a state law, all communities have the ability to offer a similar abatement. And quite frankly, most communities, I would say the vast majority, well over 95% offer these types of abatements. And what happens is if we participate in this abatement, we get 50% of the value, in all of the taxing unities get 50% of the taxes that are paid on the investment for a period of up to 12 years. And I always say, or you can choose not to participate in these programs, and then you potentially run the risk of getting 100% of nothing because it may not invest in our community. In this particular project, we have the company Coastal Container, which has been a company that has been in the city for a long period of time, and they are proposing a value of improvements at roughly $6.5 million, which is a 55,000 square foot new building and renovating 60,000 square feet that they have currently that's warehouse and converting that to manufacturing. They're projected to have 66 new employees to be hired within 2 years. And then the new graphs that you have in your packet, and these graphs are available to the public also, outline kind of that 50% investment that they're making and the amount of incentive that they're getting, so a break on the taxes that they would otherwise pay, which also approximates the additional taxes that come not only to the city but all the other taxing entities as the result of this. Jim, in particular, one thing that he showed is that for city tax, before the IFT expires, they would be paying about $28,714 projected. And then when this IFT expires, that jumps to $58,652. So that gives a real practical example, I think, in graphic form with pretty colors and everything, of exactly what the benefit that is that comes back to the community by this investment and in considering this partnership with the community. For all other taxes, because as you know, we always like to point out that while the city is the tax collector, a lot of people forget that the tax bill, the check that they write to the city a couple times a year, that we only keep about a third of that, and that we redistribute the remaining to other taxing entities. So for that calculation, before the IFT expires, all taxes is $138,000. But then when this incentive to encourage this growth and partnership with the company would expire, the total taxes would be about $257,000. So it does represent a significant investment, not only from the company, but certainly as it's proposed to you tonight, the taxes and the incentive, but then eventually the additional that comes into our revenue picture. So with that, we have two gentlemen with us tonight. Steve Dykstra, who I think many of you will recognize. He's a construction consultant helping the company with this expansion. And Nate Hoekstra, who's the Director of Sales at Coastal Container. And I would invite them both to come up now. Or one. Nate's going to take it.
And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Nathan Hoekstra, West Olive, Michigan.
Welcome.
Thank you. Here on behalf of Coastal Container to say thank you, giving a glimpse of what we're doing as color commentary. We are integrating our business to the next level, currently buying sheets from suppliers that are outside of the state of Michigan, outside the city of Holland, and we are going to be bringing in roll stock and creating our own raw material supply. So that's the majority of the cost that we're investing in. That ability adds the 66 jobs listed, ranging from entry level, the dollar per hour that we are competitively paying is just over 20, up to skilled labor working on a piece of equipment that is upwards of $10 million and can produce quite a bit of that material that we convert every day. And then also with that, process engineers, salary positions averaging around that $80,000 to $90,000. So for us, we have 106 people that come to work every single day. This gives us the opportunity to add the 66 and continue on what is a family business for years to come.
Any questions from council members? Yes, Mr. Hoekstra.
Just make a comment quickly. First of all, we should disclose that unless something happened generations ago, there's no family connection between the two of us.
There is none. It's a common name. My relatives are all in Chicago.
Yeah, it's like Jones, or
That's
something
right.
like that in Dutch parlance. Anyway, I'm very pleased to see that where you are in terms of your wage scales and so forth. I'm sure economics plays a part of that, and labor availability and so forth. But one of the things that we've sort of developed a habit over a number of years, I guess, and asking questions about not only how many jobs are being created, but at what wage point those jobs land, which I think reflects kind of a value and aspiration that we have, since we're giving a little bit of the taxpayers' stuff away, to you to help your business thrive. We're sort of looking for something in return, and so to be able to create a livable wage for these 66, I think it is,
Correct.
you mentioned, new positions is very admirable, and it's helpful for folks who are trying to raise families. It's helpful for us as we're trying to develop a community that thrives. And it says something about your company, too, and the values that you have. So I just want to applaud you for taking that position and that view in terms of the folks who are your partners in this. And thank you very much. I wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from council members? No? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do need to do a public hearing on this, so we're going to open this for a public hearing. Similar rules apply as they do during the public comment period. Each person is allowed to speak one time, and it's a time limit of 5 minutes. And again, please address your comments directly to council and state your name and municipality when you come to the microphone. So with that, is there anyone who would like to address council in regard to this particular agenda item? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period. What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
Will we approve the recommendation?
Moved by Hoekstra. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Coronado. Any discussion?
I have one more little thing I'd like to say quickly.
Absolutely, Mr. Hoekstra.
Keith, I appreciate your mention of the cool new graphs and stuff that we're seeing in the packet. Imagine my delight as I paged through this stuff earlier to see these cool visuals and stuff as one who likes to look at these things from a little higher elevation. Previously looking at, you know, a spreadsheet with lots of lines and columns and you gotta use your ruler to make sure you stay on the right. Anyways, it was challenging for me. But this is very clear, and I asked Lynn previously who was responsible, so kudos for the new stuff. But it's very easy to understand. It's very cool, and also it's very heartwarming, I guess, to see that the questions that, as I said before, that we've been asking over the years are now showing up in these reports. So we can just save a lot of words, you know, towards our word quota, and we're good. So anyway, kudos for the new stuff.
We'll pass it on. Thanks, Dave.
Please do.
So then I had to drive past it because we see the pictures and I thought, what does it really look like? It's a good looking building, your signage and everything. So I hope the new one, the addition, will also have the signage and be just as attractive as any kind of manufacturing building can be.
Any other discussion by council members? Mr. Byrd?
Just wanted to make notice that Councilmember Scott Corbin arrived here today with us at 6:20.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Any other comments from council members? Seeing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Freeman.
Yes.
Peters. Yes. Corbin.
Yes.
Coronado.
Yes.
Arnshorst.
Yes.
Hoekstra.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, item number 9, written petitions and communications. In addition to providing the public the opportunity to address council in person at our meetings, we also wanted to have another communication channel for them, and we have an email address that if you are unable or don't want to, for whatever reason, come to a council meeting but have something that you would like to say to council, you can always email us at publiccomment@cityofholland.com. That's public comment, singular, at cityofholland.com. We collect those in between our regular meetings. We then accept those that we've received into the record. We don't read them out loud, but council members do read them as part of our packet. We do not have any this week, but I just wanted to make all of the public aware of the fact that they have that opportunity. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, text amendment to section 6-19, floodplain management. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. We have with us tonight Tricia Dreyer, who said, I'm available to answer questions, Keith, but otherwise, why don't you walk council through what we're doing tonight? So, but I had to call her out, and she's smiling. So, this section on the agenda, again, is an adoption of ordinances. And when we consider ordinances here at the city, it's a two-step process. On your May 3 meeting agenda, we had this as part of the agenda packet. We call that the first reading. Tonight would be the second reading, where it's the same information, it's the same recommendation, which is to adopt these changes. And then you have the ability to act on this evening. Specifically, floodplain management. What is this? This is something that, because we are special here in the city of Holland and we get to be part of two counties, both Ottawa and Allegan counties, FEMA periodically updates our ordinance to reflect new FIRP, flood insurance rate map panels. And basically it's updated information that are updated at the county levels So recently, we updated these in our stormwater ordinance, adopting those FERP panels for Ottawa County. Now we are asking you to consider and adopt those same matters for Allegan County. So that is what is before you, and staff does recommend that you adopt this and put this into place. We are looking for, quite frankly, just to point it out, that we must update our ordinance with the current changes on or before June 21, 2023 to ensure the continuance of private flood insurance coverage that community members may have for their property. So there is a little urgency here, I guess, but it is your pleasure.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff in regard to this item? What is the pleasure of council in regard to text amendment to section 6-19 of floodplain management?
Move that council approve and adopt the text amendments to section 6-19 of the ordinance code.
Moved by Aaronshorst, is there support?
Support.
Support by Vreeman. Any discussion? Seeing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Peters?
Yes.
Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Vreeman?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on our agenda, item 12A1, Laketown Township Water Supply. Oh, I skipped over one. Y'all got worried there, didn't you? Item number 11, reports from special committees. Holland Youth Advisory Council update and farewell to the class of 2023 scholars. Mr. Van Beek?
Yes, and I'm going to hand it off here quickly. I think Esther's going to stay in the crowd. Joan here. Two fantastic staff people that work with these fantastic group of students. You know, I'm just going to say this. I've been here with the city for 5 years, and every time that I think our HIAC program can't get better and the students can't get better, we experience interacting with them at this level and all of the other committees each year, and I think they just keep getting better. And their involvement and their input into city processes keep getting better. So I'm pretty excited to celebrate with them tonight. And Joan, I'm going to hand it off to you, but you're going to hand it right off to the students.
I'd like to thank you for that. That was amazing. Hello to all of you. My name is Abraham Hernandez. I like that I had to look at a piece of paper just to say that. And I am the vice chair of Core Council. And I'd like to welcome all of you, and tell the audience behind me, welcome to the senior farewell of the class of 2023 for the Holland Youth Advisory Council. Now, Core Council chose Greta Traver for the 2022 Youth Social Justice Award just last year. She exemplifies what it means to advocate for bilingual tutoring in our community and calls out racism and homophobia among her peers. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greta Traver, and I'm the chair of Core Council. HIAC students participated in team building experience at Tree Runners in Grand Rapids. Core Council chose Landfill Harmonic for the Human Relations Commission's real-time film series. As HIAC's environmental chair committee, Hannah Huggett presented the introduction for the film. HIAC students also participated in STEM night at Harbor Lights Middle School, where elementary students were able to build structures out of spaghetti and marshmallows. Hello, my name is Amelia Traver, and I serve on the Social Services Committee. This year, our committee played bunco with seniors at Freedom Village twice. We also cleaned and organized shelves at Community Action House and assembled to-go bags on multiple Saturdays. Our big project this year was assembling 18 backpacks full of overnight necessities for teen entering the foster care system for the first time. Hayworth Helps and Meyer contributed to the funds to purchase the supplies.
Hello, my name is Eva Whiteman. I've had the pleasure of serving on Core Council for the past 3 years, representing the Environmental Committee for the past 2. Our team started and ended the year with beach cleanups at Holland State Park, partnering with Hope College Office of Sustainability. Our committee sponsored a recycled art contest that we've done annually for the past couple of years, in which participants were challenged to create art forms out of recycled objects. Our big project of the year consisted of partnering with 10 restaurants on 8th Street to skip the straw on National Skip the Straw Day. Meredith Walters, a HIAC student, wrote an article in the Holland Sentinel about Skip the Straw Day and what a negative impact plastic has on our environment.
Hello, my name is Leif Bauman, and I serve on the Recreation Committee. This year, we began with a pumpkin carving contest and a pumpkin carving and decorating contest. And we decorated Christmas cookies with over 100 kids at the Boys and Girls Club, and I want to give a shout out to DeBoer's Bakery for being able to donate those cookies. Following the Christmas cookies, we sponsored a scavenger hunt for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and the mild weather brought out over 38 teams. The winners received gift cards to local restaurants and stores, and unfortunately our Easter egg hunt was canceled at the last minute due to very cold and rainy weather. But we will be having one next year, hopefully.
Not all HIAC students served on youth boards. Some HIAC students represented the were represented as youth on city boards. I served on the Police Community Relations Board. This year we were able to learn about fire safety and discuss a few ways to help reduce the number of fires in Holland. We also talked about the new values and mission of the Holland Public Safety Team and the training that has gone into public safety, especially within schools in our city. On the International Relations Committee, they organized the International Festival. They also organized various events such as the Real-Time Film Series and the Great Decisions presentation by former Ambassador P. Michael McKinley.
Hello, my name is Charity Ehrman. Teen Court heard new cases from students throughout the year. Teen Court also updated the articles of bylaws relating to the types of courses that are accepted. The Downtown Development Authority started the renovations on the bathrooms on 9th and Central Street and discussed the 6th Street renovations in Waterfront Holland.
Hello, my name is Ezra Finzen, and I was on the Parks and Recreation Committee this year. The Parks and Rec Board worked on remodeling Moran Park, and as well as planning the ice rink and discussing ways to move or get rid of the greenhouse.
Hello, my name is Hayden Bauman. The Planning Commission approved many sites for the different buildings. Before approving these site plans, the Planning Commission always opened the floor to the public so they are able to voice their opinions as well. We updated text amendments, most of which dealt with UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance, or the PUD, the Planned Unit Development Zone District. We also elected a new chair, vice chair, and secretary of the board. The West Michigan Airport Authority incorporated students, most of them from Hamilton schools, into an airport teaching program with a driving question for them to answer. This has had a great outcome so far. We have also set aside some land for building for the future. We are currently in discussions on how best to use it.
These are the seniors of the Holland Youth Advisory Council. Please stand and remain standing when I call your name. Libby LaFaber, Ava Whiteman, Charity Ehrman, Dylan Markovich, Trent Burgess, Greta Traver, Atif Usmani, Jean Raywood, Leif Bauman, Elisa Mason, Meredith Walters, Nicole Genzink, Mariah Stewart, Lily Johnson, Hannah Huggett, Tucker Hennigan, and Jay Wuhan. Congratulations, seniors, and thank you.
Council members, we do have a recommendation from staff in regard to the 2023 Holland Youth Advisory Council. What is the pleasure of council in regard to this recommendation?
It is recommended that City Council extend its appreciation to the 2023 Holland Youth Advisory Council for their service to the City of Holland and recognize the graduating seniors for their service to the City of Holland.
We have a motion from Air Source. Is there support? Support. Support by Byrd. Any discussion? Mr. Vreeman.
I just have to extend my just sincere appreciation to each of you for many of you have lived through COVID, but you stepped out of COVID and got re-engaged in society, in our city, and exposed yourself to things that were probably uncomfortable for you or some things that were exciting for you. And I hope it brought clarity for what you might engage yourself in going forward in college or the workforce. I think your willingness, I commend it, to just extend yourself to learn and expose yourself to other processes, other experiences in your city, that it brings just tremendous clarity going into universities and the workforce. So thank you for serving your city in this way.
Ms. Coronado.
I just want to say thank you so much. You are inspirational. I, in fact, appreciate your straw day, and I carry it with me in my car. So when I go to the drive-thrus or whatnot, I'm like, I don't need a straw. So thank you. I really appreciate you all being the change agents of tomorrow, and commend you as well. Awesome. And thank you for being the leaders of tomorrow. And hopefully in the future, we'll see you on this side, and you know, see us out there. So thank you.
Any other comments or discussion from council members? I want to echo Mr. Vreeman and Ms. Coronado's statements. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for joining us in our meetings. Thank you for joining us for dinner. I could not have been more impressed. It is difficult to get up in front of us at that microphone. As Abraham said, sometimes you got to read your own name on the sheet of paper in order to be able to do that. We have adults that speak with us that do not speak with the eloquence that you folks have. You are going to go places in this world. As Woody Allen said, 80% of life is showing up. You guys are showing up. And this is a first step, hopefully, into a much larger, much bigger world for you. And as Ms. Coronado said, I would love to see some of you sitting here someday in front of us. So thank you and congratulations. And although it says voice vote on the agenda, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this. Kathy, would you please call the roll in regard to our appreciation of our 2023 HIAC students?
Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And for all of you who are here for this particular agenda item, I was told to remind you that there is a reception outside for all of you so that you can go out and enjoy that. You do not need to sit here through the rest of the city council meeting. You are certainly welcome to do that if you are gluttons for punishment. But we'll take a moment and give you guys the opportunity to head out there if you want to do that. So thank you and congratulations.
Don't worry, I'm a junior, not leaving yet.
Okay.
Might know your name by then.
Boy, they are so quiet moving out of there. I think that we can move forward with this. Next item on the agenda is item 12A1, Laketown Township Water Supply Agreement Renewal. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm going to ask Dave. He's back there. Yes, he is. You were hiding behind the TV on purpose there. Dave is going to walk us through. Ted Seiler's also here from the Board of Public Works. While in some ways this might seem relatively simple and something you'd want to get behind, it does represent certainly a partnership and a collaboration that we're doing with a nearby community. So I asked Dave to just highlight and explain some of the changes in this proposed agreement. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Thank you, Keith. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's great to be with you. And I think, yeah, as Keith mentioned, this is one of those milestone events here in relationship with neighboring communities where it's important to maybe have this on not a consent agenda item. It's something we can spend a little time with, celebrating. I think the relationships that we have really with the four contiguous townships in a lot of ways, especially through the services of the BPW and obviously in the city's collaboration in lots of ways as well. And so tonight what we have for you is a recommendation to approve a renewal of a water agreement. It's a water agreement that's been in place for quite a long time. As a matter of fact, in 2020 it actually technically expired. That's okay because there was an automatic provision in it to renew for a 5-year period of time, and there would be continual renewals of that if there was no other action taken. If you recall, back in 2020, we were also making a pretty big change as it relates to our relationship with Park Township. At that time, Park Township north of Lake Meketawa was a wholesale district, meaning we would supply the water from the plant, but then they were responsible for the retail administration of that water, the metering, the billing, all the maintenance of the lines and things like that were really under Park Township's responsibility. Park Township desired a different relationship, and so we went through the process of actually creating a retail water agreement with them, and that's been very successful. But it also gave us a roadmap and from a consistency standpoint when we were renewing with Laketown to kind of step back and say, all right, how can we make this agreement a little bit better than maybe what it had been before? And it's also important that we did address it as opposed to just continuing to allow the 5-year increments to continue to roll off. And I'll explain the reason why that is because under a retail water agreement, while a township may or a developer may have the responsibility of putting in the first infrastructure for water, the Board of Public Works charges rates to accumulate funds to replace that infrastructure when it wears out. And when you're dealing with a 5-year relationship with an area being served, it's a little uneasy as opposed to having a longer term relationship where you know when you make that reinvestment in the infrastructure, you're going to have those customers for a long period of time. And so it was good that we did revisit some of those things. In aligning it with Park Township, a couple things that we did here, there were actually 3 different agreements that were in place with Laketown over the years. We consolidated those, and so we revoked all of the, or proposing to revoke all of the ones that are currently in place with them to just create this one single agreement. One of the key elements of that was there was a it's called a trunk line service agreement that is essentially a series of assets that were owned 1/3 by the city, 1/3 by Park Township, and 1/3 by Laketown. And when you had a wholesale agreement relationship, that sort of situation made sense because the retail customer is ultimately paying in the city of Holland, and then Park Township would be paying, for example, in their particular area, and then Laketown would have if they had had a wholesale relationship. Well, over the years, as we've moved to a retail relationship in Laketown and then recently with Park, it was sort of recognized that we have one group now of retail customers that are all kind of paying the same charge here for our retail service. So to have that separate agreement where there was separate responsibility for those different jurisdictions didn't seem to make sense. So that was being proposed to be revoked, just as it was with the Park Township responsibility in the agreement that was put in place in 2020. There is no change being proposed to the service area. The service area for Laketown Township is almost the entirety of the township, and it's been that way for a long time. There is an area to the southern section of Laketown that is actually eligible for service under a different water authority. And so we don't go all the way down to the bottom of Laketown Township, but quite a bit of it. What was previously in place with the Laketown agreement was a limit of about 1.8 million gallons per day for the total amount of water usage. What we have decided to do here in the renewal is to eliminate that cap and instead do what we did with Park Township, where we are able to limit the size of any individual connection or the usage so that we can have final say of whether or not there's a connection greater than 2 inches in diameter or there's a connection that wants to propose to use it for agricultural uses. That's a much better control in a way where we're not causing a situation where we could have large peaks on our water demand, but not a base growth in our water demand. And having that base growth is a good thing. Managing the peaks is also a good thing. And so doing that in that way allows us to move forward in that regard. And also, I should just point out that when we look at the cumulative amount of Laketown's usage, they were not close to that cap. They were actually around 1 million. So they're about just north of 50% of what the old contract limited. So again, not like there's a major change in new demand that's coming as a result of this water agreement. A key element that I mentioned before with regard to the renewals is really nice, and that is there will be a 30-year agreement proposed here, and then an automatic renewal occurs for another full 30 years at the time that we hit 10 years remaining on the agreement. So again, that assurance that if we're going to replace water distribution mains, do big investments in that area that we have an ongoing relationship, that is a key element to us. And so we're glad to have that provision in there. And so I think those are, again, just to reiterate, the water rates are uniform. So, you know, the City of Holland customers, Park Township customers now, other areas that we serve outside the city, all are under the same uniform rate structure. That being said, if there is an area where a developer puts in a system, and again, they are the first ones to build the system out, and we have strict rules about what the condition of that needs to be, or the standards that are there. But if a non-standard system does get developed and then proposed to be dedicated to us, we have some options. We could reject it. The other thing that we could do is we could still charge an additional amount to the customers that are on that system, knowing that with a non-standard system that might impose costs that are not equally uniform throughout our system. You know, there might be a potential for more failures, let's say, of a non-standard system, or just more costs that we have in maintaining it. And so we have the ability in this agreement to charge those areas for the fact that they have a non-standard system in place. And then also, again, never say never, and you know that we are moving forward in the selling of property on the south side that was on Lake Michigan here, that was thought to be at one point a potential site for a water plant. We are still looking at preserving and planning to preserve a 50-foot wide easement on that property as part of that sale. And if there were ever a water plant built down in Lake Township and we needed to develop water transmission mains, not distribution to the homes, but the large pipes that move water throughout the system, you know, we wanted to have assurance that the public right-of-ways would be available to us, and that is a commitment that's being made in this agreement as well. So those are some of the highlights of it. Again, one of the things I want to say, thank you to Ron Vanderveen from the City Attorney's Office and the work that he did, and obviously Vince and some of the subsequent review after Ron is done. But then also a big shout out as well to John Van Uffelen. John Van Uffelen was with us for 42 years with the BPW, retired a few years ago. And actually we had an opportunity under more of a consultative relationship with him to have him come back and support some of the negotiations and discussions over the elements of the agreement. So I want to thank John, you know, for that work as well, and obviously Ted and his crew in reviewing it. So with that, any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer it.
Questions from council members?
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you for the explanation. That helped clarify and fleshed it out a little bit. I really appreciate it. We get to know so much about the city and the finances, and I get to appreciate more and more what you have to do in providing service. You have to maintain a whole network of thinking ahead and planning. You're managing the fiscal part of it as well. So thank you. That was very clear.
Thank you.
Mr. Freeman.
Dave, I have a question on the length of the terms with the 30-30. Is that common? I just started doing the math. I'm like, that's 2083.
We'll all be dead.
We'll all be dead and gone.
Actually, if you would look at the length of the agreement we have with the City of Zeeland for the wholesale relationship we have for water supply there, that's a 99-year with a 99-year renewal, actually.
Ding dong.
So,
okay.
so this one is actually much less in terms of that. So we do
Perspective,
we
okay.
see things in very long horizons in the very capital-intensive world of utility service.
Awesome. Thank
so,
you.
Yeah.
Mr. Corbin.
Yes, sir. Just piggybacking on that, you said after 10 years, you can enter into additional 30 years?
With 10 years remaining on the 30-year
10
term, or any subsequent renewal
So
term
the
as
start
well.
date would be at that point?
Correct.
At 20 years? It would start at 20 years and then it would
Yes.
renew another 30?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then follow-up is there anything currently on or existing on the current system for Lake Township that would be outside the standards that would need to be replaced?
There was, and we had an agreement to charge the customers in that area for a period of time that I can't remember exactly how many years it was, Scott, but it just recently expired. And so that was an arranged situation that we had there, which is why I think it was a specific situation that occurred, so we knew that if something like that would happen in the future, we want to make sure that we had a provision to deal with that.
I appreciate that due diligence, because we don't want to come back later and say, hey, here's a piece of infrastructure needs to be replaced.
Right.
So we're going to have to charge these customers an accelerated rate to catch
Well,
up.
and when we
So-
replace infrastructure, we do it at our standard. This is the fact that somebody puts in the first, first distribution mains, first services, and then they dedicate that over to us generally, whether it's a developer or it's being put in by a contractor under an assessment process by that jurisdiction. That is a first move that they do, and then they dedicate it over to the operator of the system, and then the operator has the renewal responsibility. So when we renew it, we'd obviously renew those elements at our standards, but these are only on those first moves, so there's nothing really that is yet to, there's anything that's in there is already there at this point, and we know about it. So, and that one, we had that agreement for a period of time, and now that time has expired.
And I will also mention that how appreciative I am about how much work you guys put into this. The infrastructure is just so massive, and to manage it, I appreciate how well you guys do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from staff or from council members? Scott, I wanted to thank you for bringing that up, because that's one of the questions I was going to ask you, because if I'm remembering correctly, there were some issues with Park Township where parts of their system were not up to the standard that we had. Am I remembering that correctly, Dave?
Mostly the areas that we really dealt with on this was a Laketown Township.
Oh, it's the
area. I think
Laketown ones. Okay.
The area of, if I were to be more specific, I think it's the Castle Park area that's
Okay.
along the dunes. But yeah.
And another thing I recall from one of those agreements that we had is that when we took over the retail operation, their water rates actually increased from where they had been previously.
Actually, the timing is just before we took over their service, their water rates increased.
Okay, I remember we took some heat
Yes,
from that.
yes.
I just wanted to make sure we knew what that was, and I'm sure you know exactly what that is, but that also that those new customers that we're going to be looking at have an understanding of how all of this works.
Well, absolutely. And so here, in this particular case, we've had a retail agreement and a retail relationship with Laketown. This is just renewing it in a way that the contract with us in Laketown is a little bit better defined, I think, and a little bit more, got elements that are better. So we won't really have, the customers in that area won't see any change in terms of the rates that they currently are seeing right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Freeman.
Dave, just a comment, kind of every once in a while when you speak, I just get struck by the scope and depth of things that you have your fingers on in our city and area. And tonight's one of those. Just thank you for you and Ted, just to go, all the things that you have and the way you speak about it. And I imagine there's hardly any notes in front of you.
My name is
yeah,
here.
right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. So just thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of council in regard to the Laketown Township Water Supply Agreement renewal?
Move to approve the Laketown Township Water Supply Agreement.
Moved by Freeman. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Coronado. Any discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Coronado?
Yes.
Arnsworth?
Yes.
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Peters? Corbin? Mayor Bucks?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on our agenda is 12E 6.1, gifts. Kathy, would you please review the gifts for us?
The city manager's office is pleased to report the following gifts. Human Relations, Holland Youth Advisory Council received in-kind donation valued at $300 from Meyer to provide items for youth going into the foster care system. It is recommended that these donations be accepted with appreciation, credited to the appropriate account, and an expression of gratitude be forwarded to said donors.
All right, what is the pleasure of council in regard to the gifts?
Move to approve said gifts with a token of our appreciation.
Moved by Coronado, is there support? Support by Byrd. Any discussion? I just have one comment. I think pretty fitting that the donation today was something that was solicited by the Holland Youth Advisory Council members that were in this room just a moment ago. Just another example of the great work that they're doing in the community, oftentimes in areas that we're not aware of, doing good things to support this community. All those in favor? say aye. Oh, Mr. Bird, did you have a comment?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
gonna make a comment.
Yeah, please do.
It just goes, as you pointed out, that's our youth, right? We always think of giving as adults. It just goes to show, again, that we live in a very special community where it is not a certain group of people who are willing to give. It is the community who's willing to give back, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion from council members? Now, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, item 12E 6.2, City Hall Exterior Renovation Project and Museum Exploratory Work. Award a bid. Mr. Van Beek.
And I'm going to throw it across the room on these next two projects. So we'll see if Matt either describes them both now or you kind of do the vote on one, throw it back to Matt. But Matt, take it away.
All right, thanks, Keith. Yeah, this is an item that we've talked about for quite a while. The good news is we got a $50,000 State Historic Preservation Office grant for this project. That's the good news. The bad news is it slowed the project down a little bit, but here we are. We're here tonight. So in the past, about 18 months, we hired Chrisman and Quinn Evans to do a full assessment of the City Hall exterior. That came back with a couple of different recommendations, some short-term recommendations, which are what's actually included in the base bid, and then some things that maybe we don't do right now, but maybe we do, and that is a build alternate in those bids. Our recommendation to you tonight is to just, let's get this thing done. Let's fix City Hall. We're asking for a $20,000 allowance to fix the stairs on the north side of the building. If you've been on the north side of the building and looked at the stairs, disrepair would be a pretty mild description of those. And then we're also asking for a fairly sizable contingency budget for the two projects. We've done a lot of work on City Hall to understand exactly what's behind door number 2, but part of what we're asking for tonight is for the $36,800 for the museum to have a better understanding of what that complete project is going to look like. That project, the museum project, is budgeted, but we do want to get some of the stones off of the building so that we can look at the steel infrastructure behind it to understand, is it just the exterior project, or is it something bigger inside before we really move forward? So that'll be an item that will come to you probably in roughly a year or so once we have that information. And that is in the 2025 budget for work. But the project here tonight would be to award Davenport Masonry the base bid of $183,000 for the exterior renovation of City Hall. It would be to award the additional brick pointing in the amount of $54,000, and then also award $36,800 for the exploratory work at the museum to get to the bottom of what's going on over there, and then the contingency budget and the stair allowance that I mentioned earlier. So we're looking forward to this. If you look really hard at the building, which a lot of people look at the big picture, if you look really hard, you'll see there are areas that we need to address. And this is not only going to address the areas, tuck pointing, fixing block, doing that kind of thing, fixing spalling, but it's going to make this building shine a little bit. And I think that's something I'm very proud of the building that I get to work in. I get to have the privilege of working in every day, and sometimes we've got to make a little bit of investment into it. So that would be the recommendation before you this evening, would be Davenport Masonry to award that bid. The second item, Keith, I'll try to do that right quick, would be to award the painting portion of the exterior renovation, because if you look up high, there's a lot of paint that's on this building that's really, really high up. Our recommendation is to award, not the low bidder. The low bidder actually did not submit a complete bid and subsequently withdrew their bid, but to award the amount of $33,000. I better put I don't have this number memorized. $33,200 for the exterior painting as well.
All right. Any questions for staff? What color are they looking at for the? What color is it going to be, Matt?
We will match the existing colors on the existing building as our Historic Preservation Office would have us do.
All right. Great answer. Great answer, Matt. Thank you. Let's take these items individually. First item, 6.2, City Hall Exterior Renovation Project and Museum Exploratory Work Bid. What is the pleasure of council in regard to that item, 6.2?
Move to approve 6.2.
Moved by Byrd. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Coronado. Any discussion? I just comment on this and on the other, Matt. Thank you for taking a really detailed look at the building and being the one who's paying attention to those kinds of things and making sure that work gets done because it's really important. I think it's also important to take note of the fact that, you're saying, well, we don't have this particular thing budgeted this year, but it's out there for 2025. I know, and I like to remind the public of this every chance we get. We have a 50-year municipal capital improvement plan, thanks in large part to Mr. Van Dyken doing a lot of work over the last several years of looking at all of these things and making sure that they are paid attention to and that they are addressed and that they are budgeted. And that is incredibly important work that you're doing, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of council in regard to item 12E 6.3 City Hall exterior painting project bid?
Move that we approve the bid from Vork Brothers in the amount of $33,200 for the exterior painting.
Moved by Aaronshorst. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Coronado. Any discussion? Seeing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 13, communications from the city manager. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, and I do have a few this evening. I'm going to start, I suspect, the week after Tulip Time. Quite often, several of you have comments. So I'm just going to keep it to this. Our staff works a lot of hours leading up to and then during Tulip Time. So it's just as simple as thank you. In so many different ways, behind the scenes, sometimes maybe a little bit more visible with a lot of pieces of equipment along parade routes, making sure everyone's safe. Just thank you. Another fantastic job by our teams, planning, executing, and just being available to the community and our visitors. We, just for heads up as we go into next several weeks, next week, you had given us good feedback on, and it is that week, we are going to take the brown van out, and we are going to put you in the brown van, and we're going to drive around town, projects that are going on. Talking about that municipal capital improvement fund, we've got a lot of things happening, so we're going to kind of bop around town a little bit and give you updates and see how those are proceeding. The 31st, May, is one of those fifth Wednesdays, and I know that you also support, so we are not planning on doing a fifth Wednesday meeting, so you have that week off. And then we'll go right into it in June. I will let you know that we are targeting right now June 21 as being a really key date. June 21 being the date where we will have construction documents, or at least the estimate of cost that we'd be looking for your approval to go out on proceeding with the ice rink project. And in the meantime, we're still doing a lot of fundraising and grant preparation and the like. So we will be keeping you updated on that as we go. And we know that we won't completely have, we don't think at least, fundraising to fill the entire gap of the expected construction. But we'll be as clear as we can that evening to let you know what the request is of the community that you represent in city tax dollars also. So we're excited about that and just putting that on your radar. Which really brings us to the ongoing fundraising that we're having. We had 2 events yesterday. We have 1 event tomorrow night. And as promised, I've been telling you all, I have 2 boxes full of invites for each of you, but also to take as many as you would like so that you can invite anyone and everyone that you know to a event that we have And it says it right here, so I get it right. Thursday, June 8th, from 6 until 8 p.m. at the Tulip Hotel. And we're really looking for an event that night where it's as much a celebration as it is an invitation to the entire community to understand what we're trying to accomplish in this project, to be inspired by The Gift of a Lifetime by Frank Cry. So I'll kind of catch you after the meeting, but I also have these come by, pick these up. I will let you know, just with everything going on, we request people to RSVP at a very quick date on this. Don't worry so much about the RSVP. You know, when people get them, they can RSVP right up until the day before the event. And you know what? If they even show up, we're not going to not let them in if they didn't RSVP. So definitely working on that. And then, do we have some pictures, Matt?
Hey, Keith.
Yes.
Quick question for you. What's your intention with that night? Is it more fundraising or just community engagement?
I will say it is fundraising, right? But what we've been clear, and I think a great message all the way through this, that's intentional. We want Susie and Johnny, who maybe have a lemonade stand this summer, and come with a pile of coins totaling $6.24 to give a donation to the ice rink and feel like for the rest of their life they have ownership in that ice rink, just like a company that might give a 6 or 7 figure gift. So I'll be clear, yes, it is a fundraising event, but it's not an exclusive fundraising event. So we are going to show pictures today, and you know what? I'm going to even make an admission here for a moment. I love my job, but there are weeks or days after it feels like you're just going and going and going, where you get a little tired and you get a little. And I went out today because the West Coast Chamber of Commerce had what they call Community Impact Day today. And I know that in a moment, I'm going to give Belinda a chance to talk about it because she's wearing the shirt tonight. There you go. And Belinda, I think, has some paint on. Dave apparently cleaned up.
I was covered, so I'm impressed that, yeah.
And Mr. Corbin this morning, I know, we had 2 specific city projects that were supported by fantastic volunteers today. This morning, but all day, at Moran Park, I could do nothing other than chuckle with Andy Kenyon and Jamie Scott the last couple weeks, because I was like, guys, like, you were doing Tulip Time, and you thought that taking apart the old playground set during the week of Tulip Time and then scheduling a community build the week after Tulip Time, and Andy was like, yeah, well, you know, it was time to get something done. And we had, I think, close to 50 volunteers out there all day today helping putting that playground together. It's going to continue this week. It's not done. But I would really encourage you, go out there during the day, see people, you know, putting elbow grease onto this thing. It's a fantastic park. It's a fantastic place for our community to gather. You all know that this isn't the first one we've done, and it's not going to be the last one either, but it's the one we're celebrating today. So being out there and just seeing the energy and seeing the community rally around this, I kind of like, it puts some energy back in my veins. And then, as you've seen the picture, we had, I think, close to 200 volunteers lined up along the railing in Holland Park, and that's not a short railing. Dave, did you play some football back in your day or ever? But like, there's a lot of football fields worth of railing out there. And our rec team basically had gift baskets for them this morning of everything they needed to paint a rail. And when they got that one done, you kind of leapfrogged over and did another one. And they worked their way down a lot of railing today.
All the way down to the right in front of Heinz
unbelievable progress. And it really represents, you've heard me talk about with Andy's leadership, but with Jamie, we're really starting to pivot more and more where it's not that our staff doesn't do the work themselves. They do. But we're looking for more and more opportunities where the staff really, what they do is they empower and work with volunteer groups to do projects like this. And this was the perfect project. I know that Jody Ozarski from the chamber was just beaming with pride all day as she, was able to see what she had a part in organizing for us. And we thank her and the chamber and the volunteers deeply. This was a big deal today, and it impacted our staff, and we're very thankful. And this was a project, we're going to run some numbers, but when we looked back, Andy was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that the last time we did this project, and it needed to get done again, it was over a $100,000 project. And preparing this and giving the supplies for these volunteers to do it, it was less than $4,000. And I just got to say it because it's just fun. And then Andy pointed out, he goes, yeah, and that $4,000, we basically paid for it with the 11% off from Menards coupons that we've been using for years. Now, if that isn't Holland, I don't know what is. But just a huge shout out to our community showing up. And quite frankly, it was a huge encouragement to our staff and our team. So just thank you.
That's all right. Really hard to follow that. And I thank you, Keith, for sharing that. This is what we're all about in this community. I had the opportunity last week, and I know that there are some other members of the council that want to talk about Tulip Time, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I had the opportunity to interact with a lot of folks from out of town last week during the festival who were amazed at what this community is like. Whether they're going on a tour, whether they're walking around downtown, whether they're just here to look at the flowers. And then the more you talk to them and the more you explain to them what it was that we were doing here in Holland and how we did it, and the fact that the head of the Chamber of Commerce and the mayor and the city manager and the head of the Visitors Bureau and the head of the Civic Center and the head of Tulip Time and the head of Lakeshore Advantage and the head of the Community Foundation all know each other and like each other and work together and are rowing in the same direction. They're like, how does that work? Because that's not the way that it seems to be happening in their communities, and they are able to see the results that we see every day with fresh eyes. That's always been one of my favorite parts about being a tour guide during the festival, is seeing the community through the eyes of people who don't live here. Because sometimes I think that when you look at something long enough, you just don't see it anymore. Maybe, like the exterior of City Hall, we look at the big picture and we miss the other parts. Those folks gave us the opportunity to be able to see this community in a way that we may miss it ourselves. And this photo of 200 people lined up along that railing that I go by all of the time and think to myself, boy, that sucker needs to be painted. And that we saved $100,000 and paid for what we need to pay for with Menards coupons, just it brings a smile to my face. That's just fantastic. The other thing is, just to piggyback on the fundraising, we've been talking to a lot of people over the last several months about this project, and this is an incredibly giving community, an incredibly receptive community, a community that wants to get behind the gift of a lifetime for Frank Cry, but also who want to become involved in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity project that's going to be here for decades and decades to come. They're looking forward to the opportunity to skate there themselves, but to take their kids, to take their grandkids, and the idea of having their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren skate outside, away from their phones, interacting with their friends, interacting with the community, interacting with people of all ages in a safe, healthy, fun environment is good for their physical health and their mental health, and to be able to think to themselves, I played a role in that. My grandpa played a role in that. That this is a multi-generational project that we're paying for it once. This isn't something, there's going to be some operational costs for it year after year, but this is going to become a fixture in this community. If this council votes yes for it, by the way, we haven't made that final decision yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself on that, but the community is definitely coming around this and stepping up. And while the fundraising effort's not likely to pay for the entire cost of the ice skating park, I don't think that it should. I think that we need to have some skin in this game as well with the taxpayers behind it, because ultimately this is a taxpayer asset. The community has been unbelievably generous and continues to be. But I see that June 8 event, and I'm inviting all members of council to come and to bring whomever you want along with it. I'm also inviting anybody who's listening, come to that event on June 8 from 6 to 8 o'clock. Tell them that the mayor invited you personally to come and enjoy that evening. Yes, we're going to ask you for money. I'm going to ask you for money, but even if you don't give money, or if you give $1.50, we don't care. We want everybody to have ownership in this project and in this process, so that everybody feels like this is their amenity in the community. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is we got a big event. I always think of Tulip Time as being the cyclical process that starts in October when we plant tulip bulbs as a community together, and then we watch them grow over the course of the spring, and then we get to enjoy them during the festival. And then on Saturday, you get to bring them home with you if you want to. The Tulip Dig is this Saturday at Window on the Waterfront and Windmill Island from 9 to noon. It is a shotgun start at 9 o'clock in the morning. You may come earlier, and it's more of an air horn start, really, Quincy. Yes, it's more of an air horn start. And oftentimes the mayor yelling, "Start digging," at the top of his lungs. You can come early if you want to, and you can scope out your spot. You can kind of stake your claim, but you're not allowed to dig until the stroke of 9 o'clock. And my advice to anybody who's interested in coming down and bringing their 5-gallon bucket and their $10, and you can bring as many buckets as you want with you, to get there early. Because we start at 9, and yes, it says it goes till noon, but usually by about 10 or 10:30, they're gone. And I always feel badly for the people who show up at 10:15, 10:30 and go, "I'm here to dig." And we go, well, you might find a few out there. So get there early. And this is one of those great projects that is a win-win-win. It saves the city money because we don't have to go out and pull those bulbs out or rototill them. The second win on this is those tulip bulbs go and are replanted throughout the community and frankly throughout the country. We have people, I've talked to people from St. Louis, Missouri, I've talked to people from North Carolina that drive here simply to get official Tulip Time tulip bulbs. They fill up their trunk and bring them home and brag about the fact that they've got Tulip Time tulip bulbs. So that beauty gets spread throughout the community. And then the money that's raised goes to a local nonprofit organization, Holland and Bloom, that does beautification projects in the community. They compete in a nationwide and international contest for our community to showcase our community across the country. And because they've been able to raise so much money with this Tulip Dig over the years, that they are making donations to the community as well. And I know I wasn't able to attend the meeting this afternoon, but I know they had a meeting this afternoon where they were talking about making a donation to the skate park, to the ice skating rink, out of the funds that they've gotten from this. So that is a full circle opportunity. So members of the public, get out there Saturday morning. I'll be out there. I'll be helping tag buckets.
Just one quick clarification.
Yes, please.
Windmill Island Gardens Tulip Dig is not until June the 3rd.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
Matt
appreciate
Helmus
that.
would have been having a heart attack. The good news is...
So Window on the Waterfront.
I think we're going to have some good color, and they're going to be welcoming visitors still.
Okay, so that's a great, so thank you for that clarification. Not at Windmill Island on Saturday. Get out to Window on the Waterfront, dig your tulip bulbs there, then go to Windmill Island and enjoy the ones that are still in the ground. So we like that opportunity. All right, and thank you for that clarification. That is all I have this evening. Are there any communications from council members? Mr. Freeman.
Not to belabor gratitude for Tulip Time, but I think needs to be recognized, the police force stepping up during the parades, particularly on Thursday and Saturday, and the enormous crowds that were present, particularly in the downtown areas, but all of the safety implementations that were put in place. It's just ginormous, and the work that takes on that staff. So gratitude to them. And then just, again, elevating the Parks and Rec Department and their work of what's taken place in the last week for particular tulip time and maintaining our community, and all the visitors that we saw, and then flipping literally in hours, if not during the same period, to prepare for community impact of everything that's taking place this week. And so I know those guys are tired, but just hats off to them of the dedication that they have to their jobs, but to our city. It's just noteworthy. I'll just say it that way. And then I think the other piece for me is when I organize the tours and engage tour guides, which we have numerous. We have over 50 of them today, ranging from 20-year-old to 82-year-olds that talk about their city, and they're all volunteers. And give people from all over the country, all around the world. I had entertained people from Denmark and Finland this past week. And they stop, particularly in Centennial Park, where it's about 2/3 of the tour is over. And they start asking the questions of how do we do this? And they're asking, how does city government and nonprofit festival and the community and all the jazz work together, and to be able to talk about that with a lot of pride and yet humility at the same time. I'm just very, very grateful for the work that this team does to help ensure that and continues to do that throughout our community. Because what took place today with 950 people that Jody and her team at the Chamber did is just tremendous. And I was up just north doing community impact stuff with the Chamber today, and came back to Windmill Island, and they're still reeling from Tulip Time, and they're hosting 950 people for dinner and a celebration of what took place today. And so just hats off to every piece of city leadership and all the entities that connect with it to make all that happen. It's just tremendous. So thank you.
Any other communications? Yes, Ms. Coronado.
I just want to say I'm very grateful to be a part of City of Holland. I came here 32 years ago, and Collin Park is right in my backyard, and I too walk that, and I'm like, these need to be painted. And so it was honoring to be able to do that today. To me, Collin Park is like my Central Park. I'm always there, and you know, it was a grateful feeling to be a part of it. But along with Tulip Time, just great community, more hands, and that makes it so much easier. So thank you to our city staff, our partners, our collaborators, and then also Latin American United for Progress. They did they co-sponsored the fireworks, and it was just amazing. Because when I first came to Holland, I felt like it wasn't as diverse, and then just seeing the park, and I was like, wow, 32 years later, you know, fireworks and then Latin music in the background and food and fun and everything just coming together. It was amazing. And again, the youth dancing and just it was for all ages. So I was grateful to be a part of that. But also earlier, going back to Windmill, I was able to speak with our speaker from Chamber, Marcus Allen, who was just in awe of what we have here. So he was like, wow, they're showing me everywhere. And he was like really enthralled with what we have going on here as a community. So he's going to take that back to Philadelphia. But I'm grateful to be a part of it and hands-on. And yes, thank you.
Any other communications from council members? Mr. Byrd.
Yes, we have 33,000 people approximately here in Holland. And as you stated, there are people, as Councilmember Freeman stated, there are people from around the world coming here. I don't think there's another community in the United States that has 33,000 people, and they have people from around the world coming to spend a vacation here. some years ago, me and my wife were in the Bahamas, and we went on an excursion, and the boat held probably about 8 people, maybe not even that many, about 6 people. And one of the people was running late, so they took us out. We went to a sandbar, and we hung out at the sandbar. I went back with the boat captain to pick up the other person. When I come back, my wife's talking to these people, and they asked her, "Where are you from?" And they had an accent, and she said, "We're from Holland." And they looked at her and then looked at me, and she's like, "Oh, no, we're from Holland, Michigan." And they lit up because they were from the Netherlands. And they watched the Tulip Parade every year on TV. So we have a lot of people coming to our community, but we still have a lot of people who don't come to the community who are engaged via TV or videos or YouTubes and other forms. So it's a lot bigger deal sometimes than we even realize.
Mr. Corbin. Oh, anyone else? Mr. Corbin.
So I'll just give a brief story about tulip time. So I went to Florida a few weeks ago. I wasn't here and wasn't present. Visit my parent. And anyways, our car battery died. So had to get a jump start, go to a local dealership and ask him to put a battery in. So we get to talking, and he's like, "Where are you from?" I said, "You're from Michigan." I said, "Well, Holland." And he said, "Holland, Michigan? Tulip time?" So, I mean, and we had a half an hour conversation while he was putting in my battery about tulip time and Holland, how he just loves the area. So, I mean, it stretches, and that was Tennessee, right? Tennessee. So it stretches all over the place. So just reiterating what people have said. So I'll talk a little bit about my week. Monday morning around 11:30, I attended the LG Energy Solutions Top Out. That's when, and just from my background, when I got out of high school, I was in commercial building, erecting steel facilities. So it was kind of neat for me to go and attend this topping out ceremony. It's the last piece of steel that goes up on a large commercial building, and it's a pretty big thing for those those workers who are building the facility. They literally sign their names on that piece of steel, and they're very proud. And let me tell you why they're proud. To date, nearly 525,000 man-hours have been invested in the project, with over 18,000 pieces of steel fabricated, shipped, and unloaded and erected, weighing in a combined total of 16,000 tons of steel. That's steel alone here in the city of Holland. So that's a huge impact to the area. I got to spend some time with the BPW personnel that was there, speaking to the energy facility we're installing just for them, really, for the most part. It's just wonderful to hear what's going on and how quickly we're responding to this facility to make sure it's up and running. So with that, this new facility is going to feature state-of-the-art manufacturing, testing, and warehouse capabilities that will be highly automated. It will increase lithium-ion battery production capacity from 5 gigawatt to 25 gigawatt, and will add more than 1,000 well-compensated quality jobs to the local community. And so it's expected to open in 2025. That's just a really significant achievement by the City of Holland, my colleagues on the board here, and the staff, making sure that happens, as well as Lakeshore Advantage. Jennifer was there, and it was just complimentary to see her there and her so proud of this being the largest project she's ever done in the state of Michigan. She's been in multiple areas over her career. She just did a fabulous job with her and her staff, even helping put this event together. So that's one thing. Then I got lucky enough to get out of work and then go back to work. But then today I got lucky enough to get out of work again. So was able to go to Moran Park. And under Andy Kenyon and Matt Van Dyken's leadership, in which show was very much displayed, because I got there at 8 o'clock this morning, and they were there helping organize and getting ready for those volunteers to show up. And they put me right to work with the staff. And I cannot believe how heavy some of those pieces of equipment are. Literally, this is all steel. I didn't realize most of the stuff is steel, but it was very difficult at times, and I'm sore today. So I haven't done that kind of work in a long time, so I usually sit at a desk and push papers. So anyways, it was very impressive of how it was coming together and how they were bringing volunteers together to put this thing together. But I was more impressed in that the notability of making sure that children with disabilities are recognized. The sensory capabilities on this playground equipment was just phenomenal. The braille identified on there, excuse me, the wheelchair capabilities where they can get on and swing, just was wonderful. So hats off to you guys for really thinking through that project and putting that together. So we're now in we're working toward the city manager evaluation, which is starting soon here, just a little bit late in getting started. Starts in March. We'll be doing this through hopefully into June. So next week I'll be emailing out to you guys the evaluation forms, if you wouldn't mind completing those forms. And I'm going to ask, is 2 weeks sufficient enough to complete those? Okay. So I'll get those out to all of you if you could get them back. Complete them as much as you can. Even put some statements in like you did last year. Was wonderful. The statements we got back from each of you was just terrific. It helped us understand what you were trying to say. I think it helped all of us understand what you were trying to say. So please provide that feedback. It's not only good for us to understand it, but it's also good for the city manager to understand his own evaluation. So thank you for participating last year, but I am hopeful that this year you'll do likewise. We'll give you a couple weeks to complete that, and I'm hoping that we can get that turnaround with staff, and then we'll do a closed session and make sure we can communicate what our findings are to all of you as well with Keith being present. So I think it's it. I do have a question after the meeting. If you could stick around about the anaerobic digester, just need a quick question for you. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Any other communications from council members? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion. Oh, no, I will not entertain a motion to adjourn yet at this point. I would entertain a motion to enter a closed-door session to review a written legal opinion with the city attorney's office.
So moved.
Moved by Vreeman.
Support.
Support by Ernst. And my understanding is we're not going to be doing any business following the closed-door session?
No, we believe we.
Oh, we will be doing
We believe
something.
we will.
Okay.
But we've had this discussion before, so probably, especially for the viewing public, I think we won't come back and start up the video again. If you take action on something, it'll definitely be in the minutes and a full packet of information out there.
Okay. Yep. Great. And so we'll do the roll call vote, and then we'll take a quick break in between to give council members the opportunity to take a break quickly, refresh, and then we'll be back in here for a closed session. We've got a motion and support. Is there any discussion?
No.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Peters? Yes. Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Ernstworth?
Yes.
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. We'll now enter the closed-door session. We have to ask the members of the public to adjourn council. We'll take a short break. Let's try to be back here in 5-10 minutes or so.